It's not a hot day, but we got hot mics. The mics are hot. You don't hear Anil say that because maybe you do. Maybe in the distance, his voice. But yeah, the mic is hot. Here we go. Marijuana Man here from Under the Influence on another Wednesday here in Vancouver. Hi, atop the Cannabis Culture headquarters and just around the corner from High Score, where you can come and play video games and smoke weed. Is that like a dream come true for many people? Pinball too. In fact, the pinball machine that I gave to Mark for his birthday is out there. I went and bought a pinball machine and had Bob High, famous artist here in Vancouver and longtime activist, repaint the thing. And I think it's called the Prince of Pot. No, it was a wondrous experience pulling that together. The guy who sold me the video game, John's Jukes, old guy into pinball, and he was pumped. He was really excited that we were turning it into a marijuana-themed. And it's beautifully painted and not an easy thing to keep working right all the time, but fun thing in the world. I never played very many video games in my life. Pinball we played as kids, but pinball kind of went away as you grew up, and by the time I was, past all that, that's when video games came along. So didn't really go back to them very much. But the young people today, oh my God, you guys are really fucking good at it. I'll give you that. I have no clue. The controller on a PS4, I have no fucking idea about anything. Not one button do I know. So, but yeah, things continue to motor along here in the world. I'm smoking Congo today. What else have I got? A little Moby. A little bit of mango. In the Congo. I like it all. Yeah, I just smoke Congo when I have it. I look at the Moby and the mango and go, wow, I should smoke some of that or some of the other stuff I have on the table. And then so I do. And you go, well, wasn't a Congo. So I smoke a joint of Congo anyway right after it. Yes, what the fuck's going on in the world? Didn't something come down the pike about the weeds stores?
Got their development permit.
They got a development permit.
Yes.
So.
Well, they've made it past their board of variance hearing for a development permit, so they're going to put some new one.
Huh. Well, that's good news. I guess they must be motoring towards the path of legalized cannabis.
Kind of. It's an interesting
hospital
you can
around.
Kind of sit in development for an interesting amount of time.
Well, good on them. I'm glad to hear that. And something's going on at City Hall tonight about mushrooms.
Oh, it's happening right now?
Huh?
It might be happening right now.
Might even be happening right now.
Always delayed.
Yeah, no, I think they're discussing what are they discussing about mushrooms? Where to get some?
The Sinaloa cartel.
Yeah.
Is apparently making all this money from mushrooms in Vancouver, and the kind-hearted councillor, Melissa DeGenova, is wanting to put a stop to that.
Did she really say that? Mexican cartel?
It was from the Dirty Money report. She quoted it specifically.
Really? That's where the mushrooms are coming from? Huh? I don't know. I can't imagine that they're being smuggled out of fucking Mexico and brought here.
Oh, yeah.
Really? I'm not aware of that.
There was a report.
I know, but it's Melissa.
It was in a report, so I guess that makes it true. They only mentioned it once in one paragraph. And nothing else.
Melissa DeGenova. You know, her maiden name was Conflict of Interest.
Oh.
Yes. Before she married a cop. I don't think she should be a city councillor. I don't think we need to have a person who is that close to the coffers, the money going to her husband's work. There's two of them actually on city council.
Yeah.
I'm all for women being involved in this shit, but I think you got to start looking at who their husbands are, too. I think that's fairly important.
What would you say that about a man? Would you say, who's his wife?
No, you don't generally. Well, I don't know if it's a sexist thing that I would be thinking, but yeah, the men are, for sure, the men are out there in the world working their whole lives. A lot of men's wives necessarily don't, but it should be a concern either way, really. But what the fuck? I don't like when there seems like there could be a conflict of interest. And if, even if they step aside and not vote on issues having to do with shit like that, well, fuck off. I actually would like a person there that could vote. And out of
who do you bring? Did they tag someone in? It's like a tag team with conflicts of interest?
Out of the several 100,000 people that live in Vancouver, you'd think we could find a couple, a little more, that don't have this attachment to them.
No,
And
fair enough. What are the odds?
not good. No, it's fucking... It's a crazy world. I don't pay too much attention to the world, really, because it's frightening. Well, yeah, I watched this thing, Planet Earth 2. Oh yeah, there's a second Earth that they forgot all about. David Attenborough found it, and it's taken us to it. There was this fucking nightmare fucking piece that he showed there. Like, just fucking nightmare stuff. I don't know. The birth of fucking sea lizards. Big fucking sea lizards. I don't know where this is in the world, but these things, poor little things, are born some distance from the sea, and they got to do this big scamper out to the fucking water between these fucking snakes. Oh my god, there were so many snakes. I have never seen anything like it. As soon as these little critters would run out there, fucking snakes started coming out from everywhere right at them. You go, oh my fucking god. Everywhere. Fucking 7, 8 snakes put their heads up. Bang, there's 15 more than fucking 20 of them coming out of every corner of every rock. And of course a bunch of them survive to get but snakes get to eat too. Well, the photography's come a long way over the years with these nature things. Holy moly. High def fucking double def shit. Oh. That might make you deaf. So, yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite things was the jaguar that killed a caiman, some fucking small crocodile in the Amazon. It just fucking dives in the water and kills it, drags it off. But a lot of these animals that you get to see, snow leopards and shit, that they have the most spectacular footage of now, using remote cameras that are triggered by motion and shit to come on, and So otherwise, wow, crazy. Planet Earth 1 was boring.
Planet Earth.
It was before anything was here. It was just a rock.
Just the Earth.
It was actually before David Attenborough, so they didn't have an announcer. It was just silent. But stuff continues to go on in the cannabis world, of course. All the worlds of cannabis. It's crazy. I don't know. To me, the whole thing is just... it's hard to encapsulate it all, but it has been a big money grab is what's gone on here over cannabis. And the reason for that is because of prohibition, the new prohibition they put in place, because that's what's worth the money. Cannabis isn't really worth billions of dollars, but the rules are. Right? So the prohibition continues to enable the industry to be worth billions of dollars. It's the only way it could. Right? The whole thing's built on the idea that cannabis is somehow a public health and safety hazard. It's pretty much all they got. They say it over and over and over, and that's all they've ever said. And so, wow, that's an easy statement to turn cannabis into something worth billions of dollars.
You can't have billions of dollars.
The only reason that prohibition becomes worth billions of dollars is because they whispered the word legalization anywhere near it. Right? So those involved in the new prohibition who have a license to provide the cannabis then get to go nuts out in the world selling their potential. Because that's all they've ever had is their potential. They have nothing to back up anything that they've claimed. Doesn't matter if you've got 4 million square meters of grow space if you're not growing anything in it. It has the potential. If we wanted to grow weed, we could. It's just a confusing bunch of stuff going on around it all, right? Some company, who was that got caught with the seeds?
Cann-Trust.
Oh, Cann-Trust. See, Cann-Trust is going to be the fall guy for the industry here, right? They'll stop investigating at the end of this. That's it, that's all. They were the bad guys, we got rid of them. We're not going to investigate everybody else who's doing the same. Cann-Trust apparently bought black market seeds. The story I read said that it tainted the market with black market seeds. So sad, right? So fucking sad. Yeah, I don't know. Good on the black market for being able to make a buck off this one, though. Right? They're already paid for and grown, I guess, or I'm not sure how they even got caught. Like these Cann-Trust people could be a setup, too. Just hiring a bunch of stupid people, do stupid things, get caught, look like we're doing something about it. Because these people can't fucking do anything right. It just gets worse and worse. But they still haven't lost their license. It's still only in the hands of Health Canada to decide. They're not being swarmed by RCMP or having anything fucking handed over in seizure and bank accounts seized and all of this other stuff, right? Kind of like would happen if it was me or you. So that's interesting that they're taking a completely different approach, even though the black market's completely involved. No investigation. And good on whoever sold it to them. You know, spread some money out into the black market. So I thought in my head, well, why don't we just offer to take it over for you? Look, we'll just provide the weed and you guys won't have to worry about it. You go out there and keep selling your potential and we'll sell you weed and you package it and send it out. And that'd be good. Everybody be happy. Don't have to dismantle the black market. Let us help you. Provide weed for the Canadians who actually would like weed. It's not all about your potential. It's all about Canadians who would like to have some weed, please. Nobody thinking about that. Nobody thinking about the cannabis. Never, ever. Right? That has not yet been important. Because potential has been for sale. They don't even put the pot in potential. At least that's what it looks like is going on. Maybe somebody's getting stuff from them. I don't know, but I don't think Canadian marijuana industry is getting much from them. But nevertheless, right? The whole thing's built on prohibition. Without the prohibition, you wouldn't have any of it. You wouldn't have any potential to do anything. It's only because of the rules against it that allow you to do this. So, not much has changed here, really. Yeah, it's legal. I don't know, the word legalization is like it's not the right word. Because, yeah, I can go buy pot at a store legally, but it has to be that store and those providers at those prices and that quality. Right? Over a plant that doesn't hurt anyone. How the fuck do you get to jack me around like that? Yeah, because of public safety.
Because of public safety. It hasn't hurt anyone.
With no proof, nobody even asked them what the hazard is. No one's even asked them to explain the monumental hazard that must exist around this substance to treat it like they do. Right? So, not wildly impressed by that. If you're just going to continue prohibition, why don't you say so? Right? Don't call it legalization. Because it's not, really. It's just a new form of prohibition for people to make that money that way. But it's still a prohibition on the other side of the fence over a plant that doesn't hurt anyone. Like, really, it doesn't hurt anyone. Isn't that the fucking point? Well, why wouldn't that be the point? It doesn't hurt you. I don't care what else it does. I'm talking about regulations around a substance in my world. If it doesn't hurt you, then it doesn't need any regulations. Don't you think? It certainly doesn't need criminal sanctions for stepping outside those fucking stupid regulations. Criminal sanctions. You can go to jail if you step outside the fucking regulations they came up with around a plant that doesn't hurt you. It's ludicrous. So, in 2002, the Canadian Senate actually came up with the concept and conclusion that the continuation of prohibition hurts Canadians more than the substance itself. This is a big investigation they did, very thorough, cost fucking millions of dollars, and they had all sorts of expert opinions to come to their conclusions, and that was summarily ignored. Never talked about again, right? Not referred to under the most momentous occasion of Canada legalizing cannabis. No one even talked about the Senate report because it ain't worth any money. It's not worth any money to them. Prohibition is worth money. Legalization is worth potential. So, yeah. I know that there's going to be people out there that actually went and bought weed from these fucking pirates and say, well, it's pretty good, and that's cool. That's cool. That's fine. I don't. I've not given them a cent. I do not intend to, based on that principle alone, that they must, and they only exist because Health Canada says marijuana is dangerous. And I don't agree with that core principle of their existence. So I'm not going to support them. Nor am I thrilled about any of my money going anywhere near the fucking alcohol commissions across the land. I don't really like alcohol. And I certainly don't want to support that. Yet here I am, faced with, if I want to buy from them or play along, the money will go through them. Fuck that. It's like a slap in the face to cannabis people, I think. I certainly have advocated the idea that cannabis is better for you than alcohol, and you should stop drinking alcohol. Maybe we should reduce the amount of alcohol that's out in our society. That was part of... So the companies that I might end up having to buy my weed from in that legal scenario have also aligned themselves with those very companies. Alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceutical. Bang, bang, bang. They couldn't fucking wait. Because the potential is billions. Right? The potential. Yeah, and it's all sold out there, the potential, at more than prohibition prices. See, that's why nobody wants to actually look at cannabis, the plant, because they'd find out shit that doesn't fit their program. Right? But how kind of silly is it in our world where our government will come up with this landmark change in policy and not even look at the substance that they're talking about? Fairly suspicious. Because if you do look at it, I don't know, this came up in my head coming up here in a few days in Vancouver is something called the International Cannabis Business Conference. And I think I talked about it before on one of the other shows, but you probably won't remember. But that is coming up again. And you go, well, in my mind, this conference wouldn't be going on without prohibition, right? If there was no rules to exploit, and that's what they do, is just exploit the prohibition rules to make their industry, then what's the fucking point? At the business conference, I guarantee you, nobody's going to be saying, hey, you know, cannabis is a pretty harmless substance here and doesn't need any of the rules that we are all trying to take advantage of. What you going to do now? But that's the truth of the matter. I didn't make that up. I'm not making this up.
Some of it, yeah. Some of like people selling seeds, that will change. You had seeds there, you had, trimming equipment or whatever it was. That
What?
stuff was always the same.
Oh, that's not what's there at the business
That's not
conference.
all the
No,
same.
no.
Certainly not. I'm not saying there aren't some.
It's CEOs. It's no THC. It's CEO. They're all calling themselves a CEO of a company that they just made to take advantage of a rule that exists around a substance that doesn't hurt anyone. What? From every corner and walk of life they've come looking to see how they could take advantage of cannabis rules. How can I fit that in? How can I get them to make a new rule so I fit in? That's what's been going on. And that's all that's going on. This is how the license to produce became worth so much money. Every license down the line is worth so much money to everyone. The potential. They don't even say potential when it comes to a lot of this shit because they don't even care anymore. You're able to raise vast amounts of money based on the potential of cannabis. I don't know, but the potential of the stock market in this respect, maybe as it is more short-lived. But this business conference will not look at cannabis to see that it's costs very little actually to produce compared to what we've been asked to pay for it. And these are prohibition prices. Prohibition prices are only because it was illegal and the cops were coming, for fuck's sakes. That's got to be worth something. And that's why it is worth that. And was. But you'd think, upon legalization, that every single licensed producer who's growing on a massive scale must absolutely know that it doesn't cost very much to produce this shit. It's a plant doing all the work. You don't have to add much. Don't got to do much here that's exceedingly expensive at all. Just because you got 4 million square meters doesn't mean that it's really fucking expensive to feed these things. It's just that you have a giant fucking garden. Right? It's no different. How could it be any different than any other fucking plant? Except for the lights. You need extra lights. So, how much is fucking hydro? Come on. Right?
Wow.
It's drastically cheaper than they haven't even spoken on it. They've just absolutely gone from illegal prices to legal prices and more. They continue to desire to take this to the highest level they can because this is business. Fuck you. The real business world is ruthless and ugly and has no morals or ethics. That's kind of a shame, isn't it? But I don't even know what I was talking about.
The rules were worth more than the weed.
Yeah, the rules are always worth more than the weed. So yeah, they want to charge, I don't know, I saw an article, 7 acres. That's the name of one of these LP providers who now wants to go into the premium line of cannabis. What the fuck is that? And the only thing they really referred to in the whole article was it's the price structure that they're talking about, not a different what? You've grown shitty weed up till now, and now you're going to start growing really good weed, and you're going to want to charge me more? Your shitty weed is the standard price? That better weed should cost me more? How about fucking spectacular weed right off the get-go as your standard? Like, I don't know. I didn't really get into it deep when I was looking at the thing, but I'm pretty sure it was Jack Hayes that they were announcing that was going to be their premium fucking... So big deal. It's just another strain of cannabis. Either grown well or not. It doesn't really matter which one it is to me. They're all fantastic. Few are ever grown well, or to perfection, or better than you've ever seen it before. How about that? So, why should that cost me more? Your good weed should be your cheapest weed. Your spectacular weed should be the same price. What the fuck's the difference? Guarantee, in my vast knowledge of growing cannabis here, the best weed is going to cost you the least anyway. Huh. But, so, Jack Hayes, yawn. What pheno are you going to choose? What is the choice in your greenhouse or wherever you're growing of Jack Hayes offspring? Sure, you can cross Jack Herrera with a pure haze. But what are you going to choose as the offspring? Are you going to find... I don't know. Are you looking for some perfection between the Jack and the Haze? Or what? Most people are still going to go with what fits their room with their choice. Right? The way they want it to turn out at the end of the day. How the weight, the speed, all of that. So even if you grow them all out and look to see which does the... What are you going to go for? And then it has the flavor of the haze in it. Right, so it's always kind of edged towards the indica side of life because that's how they like to. You gotta, I don't know. There's no connoisseur or fucking nothing going on. Really, they don't have a clue. Many of them where to go, how to do it, what they should be thinking about at all in terms of cannabis and how it could be. Drives me nuts. And this is because people refuse to look at cannabis, right? But that's where all the answers are to every question that you have ever had about cannabis. Just look at the plant. Don't fucking ask a cop or a scientist or anyone. They all got some reason to sell you something with the claims that they make. So, and they take advantage of our egos when it comes to this shit too, because humans, we always think we're the masters of the universe and that whatever we do is better, right? We convince ourselves of that instantly. So, here we've had prohibition all these years to grow weed underground, thinking that we have now perfected growing cannabis because we perfected growing underground. Right? And that we're more than satisfied with the product that we're able to produce underground. But now that we're above ground, why don't we just find out what's the best way to do it? With no restrictions. We have none. Sky's the limit. But they're not going to do that because it's not fast and it's not the best yield. It's all still about yield. It's always been about yield. I've had fucking 1 million people come to me buy seeds. 99%. What's the best yield? You go, what, in your closet? You have the nerve to use the word yield? In your closet? I always used to tell them, they'd say, what's the best yield? And I'd go, well, somewhere between 0 and not enough. So, the plant can only do so much, but people don't really look at it. Now, when it comes to so much fucking rests upon THC percentages and the potency of cannabis, right? Dana wrote a pretty good thing in the Georgia Straight last week for the myth of marijuana potency and how the math doesn't add up over the years of their claims of how much it's increased. But I totally agree with that notion that it has not gotten any stronger at all. Case in point, this is Congo. Congo seeds came out of the jungle in the fucking 70s from people who said that strain had been there before their people arrived. Seems kind of old school. I know it's not fucking platinum cookies. But from my vast experience and taste, I like it the best, and I think it's exceptionally strong. Some of the strongest weed, that's why I smoke it. It has a good, strong stone to it. So, where does that leave your fucking crack cookies now? And there's no way, quite frankly, that anyone, I don't know, that we've done anything to increase the potency. Nobody even knows how to do that. Really?
You can't, can you?
Well, we have to know what the fuck it is to begin with to know if we can or we can't, but nobody even knows what it is to begin with. There's no grow book dedicated to how to make the best trichome heads.
I'll work on it.
Right? The whole book, every grow book ever written, is about how to grow the leaf. That's it, that's all. We got tricked by cannabis growing it indoor because when you turn the lights back to 12 hours on and 12 hours off, it goes into flower. You feel like God. Right? So then that leads us instantly to believe that whatever we do will manipulate this plant into doing whatever we think we want it to do. But like, why does cannabis produce THC in the first place? Isn't that a logical fucking place to start with the plant and why it does this? It has a reason that has nothing to do with me getting high. Not one care in the world about it. It does it because of the environment that it lives in. All right, the environment that I create. It is defending against things. Primarily THC, in my understanding here, is that it is there to protect the plant against the UVB rays of the sun and insects, kind of. So the plant will produce as much THC as it thinks it needs. No more, no less. Plant decides how much THC will be produced, not heredity. I don't believe that you can, I don't know, not too sure that I can I can breathe that into the plant, that you will produce more THC than your mother did. Even though I'm not going to introduce the threats as to why you produce it in the first place. I suspect that the THC and the trichome play a role in protecting the plant even against the rays of what a lot of light will provide as a protection. Just as a protection against the seed getting ruined is all they do. And it's only going to do this based on the threat, not my desire. The grow lights that they use and have always used in grow rooms that have claimed even full spectrum. Full spectrum grow light. You go like, really? It's not full spectrum. Fucking gamma rays will kill you. And they don't include the UVB spectrum that the THC is mostly concerned about. So we deny them of that to begin with in our grow room. We deny them all sorts of other aspects of life. Overfeed them by and large, overwater them a lot. People just give them way too much, hoping to get the most as they can possibly get out of their closet. Right? Outside world is going to determine a lot of the times what the ambient conditions are in terms of humidity and temperatures, daytime, nighttime, pH. What are you going to flip a coin and decide what the pH should be? Nobody even checks. Nobody even looks to see what it wants to be. How much food I can give it before I kill it. All these systems of nutrients that are, a whole bunch of bottles. Come on. It's just a plant. Right? So, I don't know. It's the level of acidity between, the scale of between something that's acidic and something that is alkaline. So, the pH at the root, I guess, plays a role in the potential of absorption of the nutrients that are also available, which all comes down to an electrical charge, actually. It's an electrical thing that's going on between the root and the nutrient. Huh. Interesting. Organic or not. Plant actually can't eat something that's organic. That has to be broken down into nitrogen. Or whatever the plant needs to survive. So that's some other thing. So how do you make a plant there's no pests in our grow room. They're going to bother this plant. So it's not under threat from that. How did you get it to fucking go from 10% THC to fucking 30, they claim? But let's look at these percentages for a second here. You've heard me say it before. If you want to say that my weed is 20% THC, I say 20% of what? And that's usually what I get, is silence. So, if you're saying my weed is 20% THC, do you mean that my 28 grams of marijuana contains what? 5 0.6 grams of pure THC? They couldn't mean that, because that's obviously not true. So, what do they mean when they say it's 20%? So I know that the only place where THC can possibly exist is inside the heads of the trichomes that are on those leaves. If you take all of those heads off carefully, you get like a 3% return. 3% of the leaf in weight is represented by the heads of the trichomes, which is how you make hash, by taking the heads off and leaving the leaf behind. Right? So do they, when they say 20%, do they mean 20% of that 3% is THC then? Because it could only be, it's not in the leaf. So then that's, as I remember correctly, 0.6% THC is the actual potential of THC. But inside the head, how much THC is inside each head? 20%? I don't think so. The plant doesn't work like this. The plant doesn't need that much THC to do its job. It doesn't need a fucking giant thick wall. But if you don't look at cannabis, you can assume that this is possible. No, it's just a... It's actually just probably such a small number here that we couldn't even comprehend or wouldn't give a shit about. It's so small. And they've lied to us and misled us our entire lives with these numbers. And now, quite frankly, in Canada, those numbers have become the fucking law. They must be printed on the side of their over-packaging. What? 23% of what? So, when I've talked to professionals in the industry, they always sputter until they come up with 20, it's by volume. You go like, really? A, there isn't 5.6 grams of pure THC in my fucking bag of weed. You'd think I might see that. Right? When the possibility by weight of being there is only 3%. So, here's another interesting thing, that my 20% weed, then when I take all the heads off and put it in a pile, calling it hash, it now tests at 45% THC. You go, wow, that's interesting. Where did the extra THC come from? I only removed that which has none. Shouldn't that be just a pile, a glob of 20% THC? Shouldn't it?
And shouldn't you be able to sift cannabis and test the remaining from 0 opposed to?
No. Anil asked a stupid question. So, no, I don't know. I'm making fun of him now, but because I didn't understand it. I'm probably the one stupid.
No, just if you test.
No, if you're going to test the going to test my leaf and tell me it's 20% THC, that 20% had to only have come from the inside of the head of a fucking trichome, because that's the only place where it could have. So, if I take all of those off and put it in a pile, it still has to be 20%. Doesn't it? Same with extracts. The shatter still has to be 20%. They did nothing to make it 60%. In fact, what do you think shatter is? But the goo that holds it all together.
It's the blood of the plant.
right?
So what?
It's just the resin from the inside of the head of the trichome that could contain no more than 20% THC. So, it's all nonsense. The whole fucking thing was made up by prohibition to give cannabis some sort of potential of danger because it had a potency. Another stupid word that comes out of the alcohol industry only, really. Makes an association that it's the same or similar. Now, one time we did the math on taking a sphere and trying to calculate the volume of that sphere if the entire circumference was covered with THC. Well, how much that represented as the volume of the sphere.
How big?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter. Right? The sphere is the head of the trichome. If in fact that was completely coated on the inside with just fucking black with THC that you couldn't even see through it, which it's not. It's not like that at all. But if it was, the volume represented of the whole, the percentage is 0.00001. That's how small of a fucking number we're talking here about the potential of how much THC is actually on this plant. Nobody really wants to fucking think like that, because everybody's quite satisfied to believe in the human ego that we've got something that we understand. Is really what it is. The cannabis community adopted these numbers and found that it very easily for them sold seeds and cannabis. Nonsense numbers. Right? I defy anyone to tell me the difference between a 20% THC and a 15 or a 30. I'll line them up. You won't have a fucking idea. I mean, it's... and if I'm even close to being correct here, that the number is so low we can't comprehend it, the percentage difference in reality, if in fact one exists, is just incomprehensible. You can't fucking... It's just cannabis, for fuck's sakes. And then I'm further confused by me thinking Congo is the strongest weed that I've ever smoked. Huh. Potency.
Mine was
And it's the oldest strain, never been hybridized, never been touched by us. Doctored for all these years to make it more potent. Right? Make it more potent? If we could, we would have made it grow $50 bills.
Have you heard in that beer?
So, it's all just nonsense, and it doesn't really make sense when I think about stuff like that. You go, well, what the fuck are you talking about? You just don't know, and you're just making this shit up. I don't get what they're doing with their machine. They made a machine that goes beep, finding what they want to find, right? And then they refine that process, finding what they want to find. It must be. How could it be? The 20% makes no sense anywhere in the whole equation. And the evidence that it is a test by volume is the fact that they will tell me that the hash now is 45%. And of course, in reality, in a by volume conclusion, hash will have more THC by volume than the leaf did. But the leaf in no way could ever have possibly had 20% to begin with. So to tell me the hash now is 45 and the shatter is 60 and 70, are you fucking kidding me? I've smoked it all. It's no different than anything else. Yeah, I can take a dab. It's more concentrated. That's the only difference. How could it be any different? It's more concentrated, allowing me to smoke more 20% THC heads at one time than I could in a joint. Because I got the leaf in the way. How could it be anything but that? So, yeah. Maybe I can smoke 5 joints in one dab hit. It's worth of 20% THC. How could it be any different? What have they done? They've done nothing to increase the THC percentage. Have I done my math wrong? I don't think so. So, it don't add up. It doesn't matter anyway. Good weed's good weed. It's not good, it's not good. That's all you get, really. With this fucking people. People in the world are actually walking around out there looking for a certain percentage THC in their weed because of this farce. Right? I don't know. I think it's a suable thing at some point. I'm going to make them prove it. And then I'm going to make them prove when they say it's a sativa. And I say, well, prove it. Can you prove to me that it is? That's what they all do, too. They would just open their mouths and go, This idiot that came to my desk with his THC percentage that he wanted to talk to me about, he couldn't come up with one answer to any of my questions. He knew nothing about cannabis or THC whatsoever. So he phoned his scientists. And his scientists didn't know anything either. When I said 23% of what, he went silent. And eventually he said, by weight.
A nugget, a plant,
So, no, it's a business. It's just a business. They're all doing the same test. Either the test is flawed and doctored in a way to produce such crazy numbers, or the interpretation of the results is flawed. One of the two, or both. But this isn't possible. It's just not the case at all. And like I said, it really doesn't matter. You smoke a good haze or a good fucking Girl Scout cookies, then great. Tell me that what percentages on the THC. And this isn't fucking inherent. The seed that you went and bought, that they sold you because it said, there's no way that they could guarantee you 30% THC if that's what it said. How the fuck could you do that? What if you didn't give it any light? You won't grow any trichomes. There'll be none. But you said that it's going to be 30% THC. Well, if you give it a fluorescent, or you grow with a flashlight, maybe. You come in every day and hold a flashlight. Or a fluorescent light, or blah, 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 right? On you go. It's going to have... really? That every one of those trichome heads, no matter the quality of the light or the conditions it was grown in, is going to have 30% THC inside of it? They don't have a clue about any of this shit because they've never looked. And they have no idea how to manipulate any of this stuff. They barely know how to keep this shit alive. And thank God to marijuana for being so resilient. And it has to be to have survived this long. It's not like the fucking dinosaurs didn't try to wipe it out too. And now here we are, indoor growers, trying to wipe it out. Being the masters of the universe. So, yeah. It's a plant. Just a simple plant that doesn't hurt you. So, I'm not going to hurt myself a little more here. Smoke this joint.
Hookers over at there too. With a pipe.
Yes, for what else is going on in the marijuana? Weed's got some sort of permission. We already talked about that, right? Yeah.
The
Okay,
Budzilla
good.
got raided.
Budzilla got raided.
Again.
Really? When?
A couple hours ago, right?
Oh, really?
That's when I saw the notice.
Huh. Wonder what's going on there.
Community safety.
Oh, really? Huh. Well. Oh, yeah, it's same old going on. What's the big fuss over this plant? Go back to that top stork. Huh. He'll never get a license. He doesn't know how to spell.
But you know that shouldn't prevent you though. I don't think that.
Yeah, it should. I don't want people.
Well, I'm sure he got someone to check his license.
Come on, folks. Like, if we're gonna post a lot of stuff out there in the world, there's spell checker. Like, there really is. Come on. It's hard to take people serious when you don't know how to spell the word.
Or spell the weed wrong.
It's all part of being out there with your opinion. You want to spell it right. But anyway, let's get out of here. Good to have you in the house. Appreciate you always tuning in. We have lots of viewing here on PotTV. Did Neil have a show yesterday?
No.
No.
We ran the movie that he was in. Still Trippin' 2.
Huh?
Canadian Highway.
That was a good movie.
I was in the first one.
You were in the second one as well.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's true. It is true.
Huh.
And
Did
I
not
thought
know.
me
Did
and
not
Luke
get
there-
my check for that.
I saw me in a wheelchair in the movie for a few seconds.
No, managed to be in a few things. Like we were in that big one that was on Netflix for all that time. The Union.
Oh, the Union. Yeah, I like the Union.
A lot of people have recognized me over the years from that. And documentaries on Mark. Got my own IBMDB page or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't get a check. That's all I know. But anyway, yeah, tune into all this stuff. People are doing good things and having fun and smoking weed. And I hope you are too. Wherever you are, fight for the right to have cannabis. At very least, because it won't hurt you. See you next time. I'm Marijuana Man. Peace and pot.